What's up, everybody? I'm taking a break from another video of mine which I've been working on for a lot of days now, but I felt like that I needed to address this certain thing that a lot of my friends and subscribers have been talking about, which I saw this video with on this channel called Geekvolution by these two guys named Captain Logan and Vince, where they basically had this discussion about, can American animation be taken seriously? Now, and Ziploc Gory did a response to this video, basically saying that American animation is pretty much in the sandbox. And dude, Zip, I gotta say, man, I agree with you 180%, because I can tell you why American animation is stuck in the sandbox when compared to a country like Japan or something. It's because there are these really old-fashioned, senior citizen type people who don't want to see any kind of new types of cartoons and animations. I call them the conservatives of the entertainment industry. These are the people who don't want to see any change or any new stuff, any type of new things being done with animation. They want to see the same old Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes rehash stuff that they grew up with. And I can understand that, but honestly, you still need to be more open-minded towards new things. Now, I've seen some American animation that has gone above and beyond in actually being mature and dark and gritty. For example, I was watching the show Batman Beyond about today. I actually watched an episode. It was the episode that introduced the Stalker, which is a character who basically had like a spine implant. And they showed this part in the episode where they actually show him getting his spine operated on, and he doesn't have any anesthesia, and it shows him just wallowing around in pain and just screaming. And it is probably one of the most disturbing, gruesome images I have ever seen in my life. And it was from a show that they sanctioned off and marketed as a kid's show, pretty much. So, I mean, it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen in my life, and it comes from Batman Beyond, which is supposedly, like, marketed towards kids. So, I mean, yeah, like, and there's plenty more where that came from as far as the DC animated universe cartoons go. Like Bruce Timm and Alan Burnett and Paul Dini and all those dudes who did like the Justice League cartoons and the Batman and Superman animated series. Those guys kick ass. Their cartoons are awesome. They don't have the limits and the restrictions to actually be as dark and gritty as they want, as long as they have the opportunity to tell an awesome story. And really, that's what animation boils down to. It's telling an awesome story, whether it be a comedy or a horror, which in the case of like the Spawn animated series, which is the picture I have up here, is basically like a horror cartoon if you think about it. It's very droll in its atmosphere, and it's very dark. Not just dark in tone, but just dark looking. Like, it's done just like the Batman animated series, where like all the cells and models are drawn on against a black piece of paper. Definitely creates an atmosphere. And of course, the show was very famous for having lots of gore and lots of sex and lots of nudity and all that stuff. Wasn't really in the comics, but I still kind of enjoyed it. I still thought it was a pretty interesting show. But the point that I'm trying to get across here is that I think that one of the biggest flaws of being in America is knowing that the cartoons are basically rehashing and being very much watered down to appeal to the kids and their overprotective soccer momish parents who are too lazy to try to explain to them any types of mature themes that that slightly slip through the fingers of any of the creators of these horrendous, lazy, and just absolutely wimpy cartoon shows that try to be appealing to kids, but at the same time, in just they're just redundant in nature. You know, like like for example, oh God, this is gonna be a horrible example, but even a really bad old cartoon like Captain Planet. Yes, I know. I just went there. I know. Captain Planet. I know what you're all thinking, but for, there was an episode of Captain Planet that dealt with racism, and there was also an episode that dealt with AIDS and unprotected sex and all that. You don't really see that in cartoons anymore. You don't see cartoons today talking about that shit. But that says something. Even as old and bad as a show as Captain Planet was, at least they actually had the cojones to actually talk about stuff like that. So, I mean, honestly, I think if the old I think if the old people today, I think we as a new generation of kids need to try to convince our grandparents and our older family members to accept newer things. We need to convince them to accept, stuff like Japanese anime. Well, I'm not really the world's biggest anime fan, but I do appreciate what anime has done as far as animation goes. And there are a couple animes I really like. Although, really, I'm not an anime freak in any way, shape, or form. But to all the kids out there, to all the youngsters out there or who are interested in foreign cartoons that do pass as solid entertainment, whether they be live action or animated, convince your older family members to try to watch those shows with you. You know, try to imagine them as if they were live action. Try to imagine them as if they were just like any other show except hand drawn or CG or whatever you want to call it. Kind of like those movies that Robert Zemeckis did, like A Christmas Carol and Beowulf. Those are kind of bordering on what I'm talking about here. Just doing a movie that's just like a live action movie except it's animated. Do an R-rated animated movie or something, There needs to be more of those. This needs to be a change as far as animation goes. There needs to be more liberalism as far as animation goes. We need to see more new ideas. That's all I have to say. Oh, and before I go, I just wanted to tell you that it's gonna take me a little while to get through with the movie review that I'm doing, but I assure you it will be very well worth the wait. So my channel might not have a few videos for a little while, but please be patient for all my viewers and subscribers out there. I think you've got something good coming your way. That's all I have to say.